Welcome, everybody. Tonight actually, is January the 28th, 2020. You're on the phone this is actually Beverly Thompson and Terry Palma, our very first episode of teaming up and bringing you up-to-date material from our heart, from the universe. We don't quite know what we're going to call it yet, and maybe when I give you some contact information later afterwards, you can write in, email us, and maybe give us some suggestions. Bev, are you with us tonight?
I am. I'm looking very forward to talking with you all, and with Terry, it's exciting times that we're coming together and doing this program.
Great. So Bev and I have been friends for quite a while. I met her and her husband years and years ago, and we used to meet on a weekly basis as a group called the Angel Group at her husband Rick and her house every Monday. And we did that for years. In fact, they did it for years before I even came in and did it. And we got together and we meditated, we discussed things, we shared what came through in meditation. And so lately, I'd say with at least the last year, Bev and I have kind of talked about, hey, I've gone my way, I do my things, Bev does hers. She's written 3 books, which I'm sure over the series we'll be talking about them. And so we just decided to come together and do this show and share with whoever chooses to come in and listen to what we have to offer. Now, what we offer is our truth. It might not be your truth, which is perfectly fine. It's what we believe at this point. Another filter, and of course, if you've all seen The Matrix, in our talks that we do, you're all going to be assumed that you took the red pill. We're going deep, and we're going to dive and tell you what we believe is to be true and share that. So anybody that wants the blue pill, this isn't the place to be. We honor your wishes, but we're taking the red pill, and we're going for a deep dive. I just want you to know that up front. Bev, would you like to add anything at this point?
Well, thank you, Terry. Exactly. Always use discernment in anything that you hear, see, or whatever. I'm always using discernment, and I do question everything. And that's okay. And to me, it's advantageous for us to do so. Terry mentioned that we used to get together for Angel Group, and we did it for many, many years, starting in the 1990s. I believe it was 1995, and it went for a little less than 10 years. And what an adventure this all has been, and we call it our awakening. And in fact, Terry and I had talked about calling this program the Awakening Zone. So I like that. So but that's just one idea that we have out there, because it encompasses everything, and because I definitely feel that humanity is awakening. Things are changing on this earth quite drastically, and to me it's all for the benefit or the higher good, whatever words you want to use, of each of us as part of humanity, as well as the earth and beyond.
So, Bev, give us a little bit of your credentials. I know you're an author. Talk about your 3 books, and kind of just some credentials, even educational credentials, if you want, just so the listening audience who might not have heard about us before come in, they kind of know who we are.
Okay, I'm going to start a little bit earlier, and back in the late 80s, and actually before that, when things would start coming to me, but I didn't think. Yes, I thought a lot about all of it, especially in the latter 80s, where I started reading some channel material, and it was, boy, did it strike me as being the truth, and expanded my consciousness measurably. And then I've gone from there. In fact, my moving to where I'm at now, where I met Terry, is I knew we needed to move from where we used to live. And so my husband and our 3 children moved down south and landed here and still are here, which is in South Carolina. It's been quite an adventure, but it was such a, if I can put it into the right words, such a feeling that I needed to make this change and to make this move. And the family was involved. And by the time we moved, everybody was on board. And, a lot of our neighbors thought we might be a little crazy, but that's okay. So we moved down here, and probably within a year or so of us being here, I went to a group, and it was talking about a book that was newly published and extremely popular called The Celestine Prophecy. And it was amazing to see how many people attended this meeting or book club. I believe there were 30-some people there, men and women both. And living in the conservative South, I thought there might be some issues with what was being discussed, and there wasn't any. And there were a few of us that wanted to continue on and talk about angels. And so that's how it became to be known as Angel Group when we decided to start the meditation discussion group. In fact, on my way to the book club meeting, I remember getting out of the car, and this overwhelming feeling came over me and said, this is the start of something big. Something, I didn't write it down, but it was something along those lines. And I'm like, okay. And if I recall correctly, I was shaking. I was like, wow, what is this? But it was like opening my eyes even more. So, as we continued along throughout the years, it's been an absolutely amazing adventure. Back, let's see, a little bit about my credentials, so to speak. I did write 3 books. They're actually channeled books, or I called it interdimensional communication. And they started in 2002, the writings did, and out of the writings are 3 books, and each book has 80 writings within it, and covering all different kind of subjects. So I call myself a scribe, took down the information. A lot of it at the time I did not understand. As I understand more and awaken more within myself, I'm understanding the writings that much more. In fact, each time I read them, I may get something else out of it. So it's amazing how that process works within each of us as we awaken within ourselves.
Thank you.
Do you have any questions or any comments, Terry?
Well, give us the name of the book so people can go either on Amazon Kindle or Amazon and order them, because I know we'll be talking about stuff that comes through your books. So our listeners might want to read ahead and read them. So give them the title, and so they can maybe find them and start reading them.
Thank you. The name of the books are Mystery of the Universes. That's a singular mystery of the universes. The first book is called Mystery of the Universes, A Prophecy Fulfilled. The second book is Mystery of the Universes, Book 2, and the third book, Mystery of the Universes, Book 3. Each of the books contains 80 writings, and they're rather short, but it awakens within us different aspects of ourselves, if that makes sense to you. So even each of the writings, you could go probably write a book or 2 or 3 on for those that have that focus. So this gets your feet wet in what I call the more esoteric metaphysical part of us, which is really us. I hope that makes sense to you all.
Yeah, absolutely. So let me give some of my background and go. I'll be 71 this coming March, 2020. And so I got involved in metaphysics early on, I would say my early 20s. My mom introduced me to it. She has been very metaphysical all her life. And I was always looking at studies in consciousness, everything to do with consciousness. Really, I was attracted to. In the early 70s, I was into hypnosis. I became a master hypnotist. Later on, I have a degree with hypnotherapy. I'm a certified hypnotherapist. I spent a lot. It seems like I spent forever in school. I graduated UCLA with a bachelor's degree, then immediately went into, well, after a while, I was coaching swimming. Coached swimming till about 2 years ago, off and on for that whole period of time. But I did go to and get 3 master's degrees. I have a master's in education, a master's in educational psychology, and a master's in counseling and guidance. I should have had 2 PhDs, but I went for a PhD in psychology, got to the point of really sitting down for a committee and have to argue my thesis. And I just realized that, I didn't want to spend my life in a room and talking about people's issues and helping that. That wasn't what I wanted to do. So later on, I went back to school and got a PhD in metaphysics, which was more up my line, studies in consciousness with the hypnosis and just all of that. So I've been fascinated with subconscious and conscious, and it really emphasized everything on that. So, probably 3 or 4 years ago, I had these books that had come with me from California from when I was introduced to metaphysics. It was part of a bookstore. It's called the Academy of Atlantis there in West L.A. And I bought these books called The Course in Miracles. And they sat on my shelf. I didn't know. They made it here to South Carolina when we moved in 1987. And for some reason, I was somewhere, and someone mentioned, oh, you need to read The Course in Miracles. And I said, I think that's on my bookshelf. I hadn't read it. And so I found it in my bookshelf, and I have one of the older copies, I think from 1970-something. So they were in 3 volumes. Now you can buy one book, and all the volumes are in it. And that really opened my eyes to the true nature of what's going on here, which, I will share my point of view as we go on in these sessions. But and then I was introduced to the ancient mystical school from the Hawaiians called Ho'oponopono. And that just really, literally blew my mind. It put the Course and it took the Ho'oponopono and put it all together and made such a simple, really picture of what's really going on while we're here. And I learned from Bev's husband, Rick, when we would have talks, this made sense after I started reading. Rick always said, if something's going on in the world, I know Rick didn't like to watch the news that much or get involved because he says you're being drawn into drama. If something happens, have compassion, feel for the people, but don't get sucked into the drama because it's all an illusion. And that's where the dichotomy comes in. And Rick told us that many, many times when I've seen him. And now that I've gone through the different lessons I have, I know what he was talking about. It makes sense. Always have compassion, always feel, but know that it's just a drama that we're propelling out there. We're perceiving and projecting, and that it's just helping us grow. So that's kind of, I think, what for the first night here, get a sense of who we are, Bev, and what we might bring to the table. Bev and I might bring different things to the table. We are not against what someone else might think and feel because that's true to them. So oftentimes she'll bring something different and I'll bring something different. Not that they're in conflict. They're just a different point of view and different perspective. So, and we also will have questions and answers. I don't believe anybody's on the line tonight. If you are, speak up, and we'll let you answer some questions. But hopefully in the coming weeks, we're going to meet, just to give you the times, we're going to meet on Tuesday evenings, starting tonight, at 7 p.m. Eastern Time. And I'm going to put the number here. We're using right now a free conference session. We might move to a computer webinar type thing soon, but we'll let you know if that happens. So if anybody's listening to this in the future, or you get an email, the number to call in to participate is area code 712-775-7031. And then it'll ask for your access code, and that access code is 793-152-247, and then you hit pound. And that'll bring you into our conference. We would ask you that once you come in and introduce yourself, once we start, you'll mute yourself. I believe *6 will mute you. And then when you want to ask questions, *6 will unmute you. I will have control. I will be able to mute everyone. I have to learn how to do that. I wouldn't be able to do it tonight. But that's kind of the format. We'll try and keep it to 30 minutes. We're right now at 27 minutes. And actually, Bev and I talked a little bit beforehand, so they might go a little longer. But, we want to be concise and give you something useful, hopefully, that you can actually listen to and then take home something that you can work on over the next week. So hopefully that Bev will have something you can work on. I'll have something you can work on. And then when we meet and come back the next week, we can talk about that and your experiences. Bev, do you have anything else to add?
Yeah, I do. A couple things that you talked about, my husband Rick, and boy, you brought back some memories and some things I had forgotten about, even though I totally understand and agree with especially what you said, what my husband Rick had said. Rick is no longer with us on this material plane, and he did pass away in 2012. So he is no longer with us here, but I do see him on occasion, so that's exciting in and of itself. So it's like, sometimes our loved ones don't leave, or they come in and out to assist us. So it's really, that's a whole other conversation. But one thing I was going to ask you to do, and I'm going to, a couple more things about my books, if I may, but I'm going to ask, Terry, I'm going to ask you this question first. You mentioned the Course of Miracles, and you've told me how much you've gotten from the Course of Miracles and understandings. So for our listening audience, can you give us a short synopsis of what the Course of Miracles is? Sure.
Can't give you the exact dates, but basically it's a writing that was transcribed just like Bev does her books. In other words, the writings came to her. There were two associates at Columbia University, both in the psychology department, and they're both teachers, instructors, and they were having difficulty. They weren't getting along at all, and one of them happened to just say, there's got to be a better way for us to interact, and that was the question was posed, and then the lady that was involved, she started getting these messages, and these messages were from Jesus, is what is proposed. So it was a Christian-type message, even though the messages were coming through in that kind of manner. They're meant for all religions and all people. So, and I think it took her, 3 years maybe to write the books, to transcribe them. And every night after she transcribed, she'd come back to her colleague that she was having to, and they worked together on this. So this whole book brought them together. And she was a Jewish lady who was in the academia in Columbia University. Here she's channeling this message from Jesus, which is absolutely phenomenal that even happened. So that's kind of in a synopsis what that book is all about. And you can go online, I'm sure. You can order them online. You can buy them used. You can buy them new. Amazon will have them. I think they come from Temescal, California, which is in Southern California by San Diego area. And they're not expensive. I mean, I think I bought 5 used copies the other month, and I was giving them out to friends just so that they could have them. So is that what you needed there, Bev?
That is. Thank you. You had mentioned where you can get the Course of Miracles. And I personally have read part of them or have gotten information just from other people, but I have not read them like Terry has. My writings, or if I can say my writings, what I have scribed, Mystery of the Universe, is available on your on online bookstores. Amazon, of course, is one of them, and Barnes & Nobles and others. Each of the books, 3 books, are also available in Kindle form on Amazon only. So it's a one way to get the writings. And one thing I wanted to mention, you mentioned homework, and because of Terry and I coming together, I started looking at some of my one of my channelings before the books or the beginning of the books when that was given to me. So I hope I'm making sense there. But I was given the words, writings of the mystery of the universes, a prophecy fulfilled. When I first got that, I went like, okay, well, what does that all mean? And then soon after that, the book started coming. But in this, what I term an introduction as that was given to me, is one of the sentences, the pot is ready, it has reached its boiling point. So what I've been thinking about this last few days is, what does it mean by boiling point? And I feel we're seeing that emphasized now, and that can be different aspects of your life. So you've reached a boiling point. It may be, hey, you want to research more of your spirituality, or you may want to say, hey, I've got to do something about my health, or I've got to do something about my attachments, or my whatever it may be. And if you reach this point and you know you need to do something about it and to bring your awareness in, and that is what's making the changes. So anyway, all of you listening, what does that mean to you? And start taking a look at your different aspects of your life. And then it will open up a lot of doors for you, a lot of windows, whatever you want to call it. So
excellent.
That's that.
Yep. So next week on my side, we're going to talk, on my part here, a lot about language and how language affects us on a daily basis. So I'll leave you that with a little tangling of something coming for next week. Bev, you want to leave us with something tangling too? You don't have to.
Watch your words. Well, as we're awakening within our consciousness, we're realizing that we are indeed grand beings of immense powers. And that is an overall thing, or words, I got to come up with the word, that we are beginning to understand who and what we are, and that we are indeed divine, because there's nothing other than divine. People may question that, but overall, it's all us.
Well,
hope that makes
and
sense.
With that, we'll say goodnight to all of you this week, and probably just us here, but that's our first session. We look forward to moving forward and growth in love and support with all of you. And until next week, watch your words you say. You might want to write them down. We'll talk about those next Tuesday. So for Bev Thompson and Terry Palma, we're signing off for tonight, and see you next Tuesday.
Thank you, Terry.